Okay, so this was the cap value. So now we have to see whether it will meet our transient response or not, this cap value. So from ripple point of view, if we require let us say max ripple 10 milli volt, then this cap is fine for if you are running at 10 megahertz and my inductor value is 165 nanohenry. So, so there are two conditions, I mean two different cases we need to consider when you are looking at transient response. So, first thing you need to check whether it is a bandwidth limited or your transient response is limited by slew rate, inductor slew rate. So, inductor slew rate will be the best case, because which means you have basically stretched your duty cycle all the way to 100%, and inductor will keep rising with the slope of V in minus V out over L. Okay. So, so you just turn on that high side switch permanently until your current reaches to the I load actually. Okay, and then loop will try to recover after that. So that's a more like a not a linear case. It's usually happens with if you have a non-linear control. Okay, so because of the assumption here is your bandwidth is infinite. Okay, it's not limited by bandwidth. So, but in this case we are considering we are limited by bandwidth. So, we will see what are the basically relationship between your LC values and current and voltages if you are looking for a particular undershoot or overshoot. So, case 1. Load transient is limited by bandwidth, and if you are limited by bandwidth, then it is true for any system. When I say any system, you can apply this formula for LDOs also. So, what is the time constant if you know the UGB for a first order system? So, using first order approximation, even though it is a second order system, but we can approximate to first order. So, time constant in closed loop, okay, it will be UGB, 1 over UGB basically. So, I will call it tau, tau equal to 1 over omega UGB, which is nothing but 1 over 2 pi f of UGB, and this tau you can pretty much approximate as loop delay. Okay. So, now I know I equal to C dV by dt. So, now let us say you have a load, okay. So, what would happen to the capacitor? Your capacitor will, your output will and then try to recover, okay. So, this is your V out, this is your I load, and what we are trying to find is this is your delta V out, which is your undershoot, okay, and dt here is tau, I is nothing but I load, because we are considering from 0 to full load, okay. So, I load. So, now dV out equal to I over C into tau, which is I load over 2 pi f of UGB into C. We know I load, we know FUGB for 10 megahertz. So, FUGB is FSW by 10, 1 megahertz, okay, and C is we already calculated here 0.34 microfarad, and I load we are considering 1 amp. Okay. So, let us see. So, delta V out. So, this is same as delta V out. Now, 1 divided by 2 pi 10 power 6 0.34 into 10 power minus 6. So, this goes away. So, 1000 over 6.28 into 0.34. Six point two eight into 0.3. So that comes 2.13 divided by 2. It's approximately 2 millivolt. 500, which is too high. So if my delta, so let us say spec for delta V odd is usually less than 5% of V out. So delta V out equal to 5% of 1200 millivolt or 1.2 volt, which is 60 millivolt. So your cap required will be 500 divided by 60, roughly 10 times more in this case. So C required will be approximately 10x more to meet delta V out less than 60 millivolt. So finally your C will be 10 times of 0.34, which is 3.4 microfarad. Okay, that's how you calculate your cap value. So now take the case where you want to keep the same resonance frequency and increase the L and reduce the C, then it will obviously from this formula it is directly affecting your delta V out, and it is independent of L if you see here in this case, because we are looking at a bandwidth limited, not the limited by the inductor slew rate. So now let us take the second case, case 2. Is limited by inductor slew rate, okay, which is means bandwidth is very high, non-linear control. Usually for non-linear we do not define the bandwidth, but when I say bandwidth is very high means your loop can basically feedback loop can respond instantaneously. So So now this is your, so you are going from 0 to I load, and so this is your inductor current. Let me draw here itself. Okay. So this is, so what would happen actually, your if you look at this, if this is my V out, so you are applying the load here, okay. So what is happening? Your, let's say you have turned your duty cycle on all the way to 100%, which means high side FET is on, but load has reached instantaneously from 0 to I load, or in this case 1 amp, but inductor will not be able to supply that much current. So who will supply the extra current? The capacitor. So which means your output will start discharging, and until what point it will discharge? Yeah, that when they cross over, okay. So this is your crossover point. So it will keep discharging, and then from here it will start recovering again and then settle, okay. Which means whatever charge you have lost due to the limited slew rate of the inductor, that has to be recovered, which means inductor has to supply extra current after this intersection. That is why you see this region actually, okay. So this charge will be equal to the charge lost, and how much is the charge which is lost here? This is your, okay, this is the charge which is lost due to limited slew rate and supplied by the capacitor. So let me call it QC, and this will be same as, I mean, if you look, this is a rectangle, so half of the rectangle is supplied by the capacitor, half of the rectangle is supplied by the inductor, okay. So let me choose some different color, okay. So I will call it QL, okay, and this is your QR. When I say QR, you can say recovery charge or whatever, okay. This is your V out, okay. And if I can, let us say this is your T rise, which means the rise time of the inductor until this crossover point, okay. So QC charge supplied by the capacitor, charge supplied by the inductor before IL equal to I load, okay. before IL equal to I load, and QR is the recovery charge. To bring V out back to, and this recovery charge is supplied by inductor. Okay. So in principle, QR, QL and QC, all three should be same actually. Okay. So now QC equal to area under the triangle, which is nothing but half your base is T rise, and how much is the height? I load. I will call it equal. So what is the unknown term here? T rise. So let us find T rise. So we know what is delta IL? V in minus V out, or V in is nothing but VDD, okay, over L into T rise, correct. So from here, and what is delta IL in this case? I load, okay, which is nothing but I load. So T rise is L I load into L divided by VDD minus V out. Second, so substitute in first, what we get? QC equal to half of I load into I load square, okay, L over, you can simply apply Q equal to CV, huh? Yeah, C delta V out, okay. This is QC, so delta V out equal to QC over C. So half of I load square over VDD minus V out L by C. This is your expression.
Example, we have seen that delta V out was going up to 500 millivolts. So this kind of approximation is valid because here we are assuming that delta V out is quite small.
Which kind of?
That approximation.
The small signal, huh? Yeah, I mean that's why, I mean we are just looking at whether it's more than whatever you require 5% or not. So that 500 millivolt is telling you that it's much large. Maybe the capacitor required may be a different, but initially when you do hand calculation, you have to look whether basically it's meeting your transient requirement of 60 millivolt or not. So then after that, you from the simulation you have to look into, because it's everything is based on first order approximation. So and this formula is only valid for a small signal, because when you define your bandwidth, bandwidth is only for a small signal, not for the. So when you look at the last signal, that's what I am saying. Then for the last signal, your system will be more like a non-linear. So then for the last signal, this one will be valid, because let's say your control voltage goes very high and it reaches to your 100% duty cycle VM. Then you are looking at a last signal, but anything within your sawtooth amplitude, that is basically you can approximate at a small signal because your system behave linearly for that. So, when can you call it that it is a non-linear? When your circuits are saturated, let us say your amplifier is saturated, control voltage is saturated to be 1 volt, if your VM is 1 volt, only then you can call it non-linear. Huh? Otherwise, within that everything will be valid. Okay. Or your gain of your op amp, let us say, changes. So, that is for last signal when your op amp, whatever the operating points you have defined for your error amplifier, they will not be valid. That is why I mean, when you say small signal, you basically assume a one particular bias point, and over that you give a small signal or a small AC voltage. But if let us say that you move the bias point, if a behavior or if your system is not changing, then it will be valid throughout that range. Huh? So, if let us say for 500 millivolt, that is still valid, but most likely it will not be, because when you give a 500 millivolt error, your error amp may get saturated. So, in that case this may valid. So, what you may find that for that for a small portion of that, when your amplifier is saturated, your duty cycle is stretched to 100%, then this may get valid, and when you are approaching your output is near settling, then the other formula will be valid. Okay. So, what we are calculating, it may be the worst case actually. So, in the worst case you may require 3.4 microfarad. So, if you take 3.4 microfarad, you may be safe. Okay, because in this case you will always get a better, because you are not limited by bandwidth, and we can calculate what with the same cap value what we are going to get here. Okay. So, let us see. So, what is your I load? 1 amp, L equal to how much? 165 nano Henry. So, if you let us say for the same resonance frequency, if you reduce the L by half and increase the C by 2x, then you get a 4x advantage in the delta V out. But if you make the load current 2x, then again you lose like 4 times. So, it is a square relationship here. Okay, so which means if you are looking for 0 to 500 milliamp instead of 0 to 1 amp, you get 4x advantage in the transient in this particular case. VDD is known, VDD is 1.8 volt, and so if V out is lower, the smaller the V out, then difference will be more. So, your inductor slope will be high. So, the worst case will be the smaller V out in this case. Okay. But so, you have to look at what is the minimum V out, sorry, the maximum V out you are operating at. Okay. So, 1.8 minus, because the voltage you are applying across the inductor will reduce. So, that will make your transient response worse. That is why when you are closer to 100% duty cycle, you will get a very bad transient response, because inductor does not have any room. Okay, even if you go from 90% to 100%, it will not hardly make any difference. So, let us say V out equal to 1.2 volt. Okay. Substitute those values. So, your delta V out is half of 1 over, this will be 0.6 into 165 is nothing but 0.165 into 10 power minus 6 over. So, let us first start with the older value, which was 0.34. So, this will go away. How much is this? 0.4, 400, huh? 400 millivolt. Okay, and if you look at a 0.9 volt, then it will be better. So which means even using this formula, your transient response, okay, so even if you make your duty cycle stretch 100%, that cap value is not sufficient. So you have to increase the cap. So when you are, so let's say I am looking at a V out equal to 1.6 volt, then this will get even worse, because your inductor will charge very slowly. So in that case, it does not matter how much bandwidth you have, you will be limited by inductor slew rate. Okay, so you have to see which one is valid under what condition. Okay, so you have to always calculate your capacitor value based on the worst case. Okay, so in this case the worst case is bandwidth limited, because there we were getting 500 millivolt, here we are getting 400 millivolt. Okay, but let us say if your V out is 1.6 volt also, then in particular case you may get the same way. You can calculate for the overshoot also when you are releasing the load. So in that case, how much voltage you will be applying across the inductor? It's V out. Okay, so then your overshoot will be worse when you are operating at lower voltage or lower duty cycle, because then your inductor will not discharge that quickly, the discharge rate will be much slower. So in that case, instead of V in minus V out, you will get V out actually in that formula. So that is the only difference. So your undershoot and overshoot will be same under what condition? 50% duty cycle. Okay. So when you are operating lower or higher, one will improve, other will degrade. So which means C equal to to meet or less than 60 milliamp. Okay, so now let us see how so we have selected L equal to 165 nano Henry. So L equal to 165 nano Henry. So what is delta IL? What will be the worst case for delta IL? 50% duty cycle. So delta IL, I will say max equal to VDD. VDD D into 1 minus D over L into TSW and D equal to 0.5. Okay. So that is your max case. So 1.8 into 0.25 over what is this, 165 into 10 power minus 9, and we are looking at what frequency? 10 megahertz. So 10 megahertz means 100 nano. 100 into 10 power minus 9. This goes away. 0.27 amp. Okay, which means if I want to plot IL, it will be looking. So this is your 1 amp and this is peak to peak. Okay, so half of this will go here and half of this will go here. this is your delta IL, okay, and this curve is nothing but your inductor. So, how much will be this? What will be the peak value? 1 plus 0.27 divided by 2. How much is that? Yeah. So, this will go 1.136 and this 1 minus 0.86, huh? Okay. So, let us round it off and make it okay. Which means so what should be the load current when you hit the DCM?
Load current should be 0.86.
Why 0.86?
Delta L by 2,
Delta L by 2, huh?
Delta L.
So, which is roughly 140 milliamp, okay, because your then your value will hit the 0 amp current. And if you see, this is not very high actually, this ripple compared to the 1 amp load, this ripple is like only 14-15% of that, okay, peak, and peak to peak if you like it's just only less than 30%. So, usually look for like 50% or so ripple. In some cases, I mean you can even design where your peak may go 2 amp actually. So, your peak to peak ripple could be same as your load current or 2x of that, okay. So, but then you will hit the DCM boundary much early and you may start doing the PFM mode, entering the PFM mode even at a very high load, let us say 500 milliamp or so. So, when you start reducing the switching frequency at higher load current, what would happen? Your peak current will increase, ripple will increase, and in that case your RMS losses may increase. So, so you have to do some kind of analysis what should be the proper basically load current where you hit, and based on that you can decide what should be the inductor value. So, in some cases you may have to increase. So, let us say you are operating at very low load current, okay, and you have a very tight spec on the output ripple for a small range of load, then you are forced to operate in CCM in that case, okay. So, you cannot choose a very small value of inductor in that case, you may have to choose a higher value. So, it all depends on what kind of ripple requirement you have, and then considering the RMS losses you have to back calculate the efficiency and see whether it is meeting or not.